So I've been watching the Facebook thread on the Ender 3, my 3D printer, and someone mentioned on there about there being a modification to the board which helps to improve the print quality in most circumstances because of the fact it can miss steps. And apparently there's a resistor setting on the driver, the A4988, which is in here, and it's on the ROSC pin, ROSC pin, right? And it changes the mode. If I can find the thing in here now, I've got to find it. Mixed decay operation. Okay, it's in this part here, and it says it should be tied down to the ground to allow for this particular operating mode. And there's different versions. There's automatic mixed decay and mixed decay, right? So automatic one turns it on and off, I think. Something like that anyway. So someone mentioned that this is something they've done, improved their print quality. And this is like an example of the waveforms going to the steppers, and apparently mentions it can cause missed steps in some circumstances depending on how the driver is actually used. So someone's reported that it improved theirs. So I thought, well, okay, it suggested maybe I should do a video on it because I saw my other video on electronic improvements. I thought, what the hell, let's do it. It can't be too hard. So I'll find the part back on here again. Now this is an example layout, and this is the actual pin out of the device, pin 1 over here. This ROSC pin here, it's got an R6 there, resistor there, which is going to ground, but that value will obviously depend on what it's actually doing. And apparently the trick is just tied to ground. I think in those graphs you mentioned being like 2 volts or something, so I think it's internally connected or something like that, so it will get pulled up internally. So I think if you tie it straight to ground, it improves it quite a bit. So I'm going to give it a go. I can't see any reference in here exactly of what resistor values and what the outcomes are. I haven't seen that in there. It must be in there somewhere. This is more examples of that mixed decay mode thing. I haven't seen the reference there to say what the resistor value should be. It'd be interesting to actually know. I haven't looked at it that closely, but it's OSC timing set. Right, so apparently if you set that to a direct earth connection, it runs a lot better on the Ender 3 at least. So I'm going to do that. Okay, so let's go back up here to the example circuit thing. OSC is the second pin in from that side. So what pin is that? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's be pin 13. Alright, so pin 13. Yeah, that's right. I remember seeing pin 13 as well mentioned, so it's okay. And this is an example circuit, and actually if you look at this example circuit and you look at a real PCB, it's actually very similar in some ways. Okay, this is obviously a not particularly great blown up version of one, and I also have another diagram. Here you go. This is the actual PCB layer, which is on GitHub. This means we can see in here these 3 resistors here, they're all tied together though, right? But these are all 0 ohm resistors here, and this I can't make out. I think it might be a 10k or something. I can't quite make out what it says. I'll have to actually look on my board and measure it and see what's there. So between this and this, I should be able to determine what's going on. Now that's pin 1 over here, so there's a dot, so that's pin 1 up there. So second pin in from this end is this one here, which is this resistor here. Yep, that resistor there. So on R23, R20, R17 and R14, those are the resistors we need to look at doing. That looks simple enough, doesn't it? If I just bridge across that resistor, that will allow me to enable that mode, and hopefully that damage anything. I do have spare drivers. I mean, I've already replaced this N1 here. When I got the unit, it wasn't driving, so that was the extruder drive for that one, and this wasn't working. Banggood did try and send me a replacement board, but it never arrived. It ended up going back to the warehouse. Somehow it got returned. I don't understand why it never arrived, but I said, well, I don't know about it. I've already repaired it now, so just keep it, that's fine. So they did try and sort the issue out I had, but for some reason the puzzle system let us down. So I do have spare drivers, so if I do blow drivers up, I don't care, I'll just replace them. I've already done it once. So just replace these resistors here. I could put jumpers on, I could just put a wire link across, something like that. These are really small parts. Must be 0603, something like that probably. I'm not quite sure. I might be able to do that in place without taking the board out of the unit. So we'll have a look at that. I'll try it and see if it seems to do anything. I'm not going to do like an A and B comparison or anything like that, before and after. I'm not going to do any of that stuff. I know what kind of print results I've been getting. As long as it doesn't get any worse, it's fine. And it's got the potential to make it better, that's all. Right, so I've got the unit opened up. All still installed, as you can see. I've set my microscope sitting on the bed here just to get a close-up view of the parts, because it's easier than actually trying to get it on my camera when I was up in this big mount above the desk. I couldn't zoom in far enough with it, so I thought I'd do this instead because it shows fairly good detail. Now there's a resistor there, R23, that's on the very first one, and if I move this back a bit, next one, oh god, knocked it now, it all set up and everything, R20, and the next one back, R17. The next one back you can't quite see because it's right underneath the boards there, so you can't actually see that one. At least not with the magnifier, it's just right back in there. So those are the resistors I need to jumper. And if you look, you can see it's a, get the lighting right, it's a 01C, same as this one here. Alright, so there, I actually measured it, it's a 10K resistor. I need to look at this new code syntax, this 01C, right? Obviously C means a number of zeros or something, so I need to actually look into that. Was that C? Could be 3 zeros, could it? A, B, C? I don't know, I'm going to have to look into it. Anyway, so over here I've got my multimeter set up. I'll show you that resistance just to prove to you what they are. There you go, nice and shot, 10K. Alright. That's what I need to modify. Now I can't really do this with the camera set up like this. It's just a bit awkward to get in here. I might be able to do it actually. I might be able. I'll give it a go. I've already got the soldering iron turned on. Well, I'm going to try soldering this and let's see how lucky we are. It's pretty fine working. It's a bit awkward to get in here. I mean, I really should take the board out, but I'm being lazy. Let me turn this off. I don't need that on again now. See if we can get in here and get the thing out. Now the lighting is not the best here, so just get because we're getting shadows. Just adjust the lighting on the unit itself. Give me some more light from that. Might help. Yeah, that's better. Okay. Just try and get without touching any ribbon cables and stuff like that, because that's really professional looking if you mount ribbon cables. Okay. Just getting some fresh solder on there because it helps to get them out. Go on, off you come. Here we go, there's that part out. It's on the tip of the iron. Yeah. Well, it's just a 10K, so I know I can get that back out again easy enough. Okay, the next one, hopefully the camera stays in focus when I do this. I've changed the setup slightly so I can access it a bit easier. There you go, straight off that one. I can get to that one a bit easier. Next one. So one of the easiest ways to get the parts off is to just solder it like that. Now the one on the back is the hardest one to get to. It's also not visible. Let's get these wires out of the way. You won't be able to see what I'm doing, unfortunately. Then I'll just bridge across those pads with a little bit of wire or something. Okay, tuck those out of the way. It's all labelled so you can know which one's which, so you can unplug them back in again. mean, technically you don't have to take the resistor out, you could just bridge it with a piece of wire, but if I'm going to do it, I'm going to take them out. Okay, there's that one out. If I tip this, you might be able to see it or something actually. Yeah, it's the last one. Okay, so now we'll start bridging them back in again. There's the front one. And probably stick a bit of solder across it and that'll probably be fine, but it's not really the right way of doing it. I need to get a little bit of wire. Okay, so I've got myself a sacrificial resistor. I'll just use the wire leg from that for a wire jumper. So it's just tinning on there, get it ready to go. Give the iron clean, and we shall try and get it in there. Now it's a little bit fiddly, can't really get the angles I want, but I'm sure I'll manage it somehow. And so I want it pretty much just like that really. Across both pads, I think that's done. Looks like it's done, doesn't it? Looks like it's on. Move it around a little bit. Yeah, it looks fine. Let's try and snip that one off and do the next bit. Cool. Next one. This one should be a little bit easier. Should be able to get it from the other direction. Mind you, cutting it that way is actually quite easy, so maybe we'll keep it the same way around. Fresh solder on the wire again. Okay. Probably got too much solder on it actually. I do have too much solder. Clean this off a bit. Okay, I think that's maybe okay. I should put this in. That's better. Right, there's two. I really hope this isn't a mistake. Number 3, right there. Try and do this without my hand being in the way, would be good. It looks like it's on. It's not the best alignment though. Let's try and move it back slightly. I'm not convinced this side's on properly. Yeah, it's looking better. Probably should use a bit of flux on this to make it look a bit nicer, but is it on? Barely. May need to use flux. Didn't help I just moved it, did it? Come on. Yeah, this solder's getting a little bit old. Yeah, that's no good, that's rubbish. Let's just put some fresh stuff on. Put a little bit of the lead-free left sitting there as well. So let's put plenty of fresh stuff on. Try again. Am I a perfectionist? Well, not really, but I still want to be right. Okay, I think that's all right. That's looking slightly better. I think I should really be using flux though. Get the best effect. So this may or may not work well, I don't know. We'll find out I suppose in time. This one you can't see because it's sitting too far back, it's just up here, which is a bit annoying because I actually kind of want to use the microscope to check it, but anyway. No microscope for me. That's way too much solder. It probably does need flux, I'm pretty sure actually. Yeah, that's looking pretty crap really, isn't it? That looks pretty awful. It's not, no, it's just, no, this is rubbish. Let's get some flux. I was trying to avoid making so much mess on the board, that's all. Let's try this again. Hopefully, a little bit better this time. A bit more fresh solder. Get the excess off. And here we go. Now how does that look? Yeah, not easy to see, but I think it's okay. It certainly looks better than last time. Let's do it again, I'm happy with it. Well, I think it's down. Yeah, that's on. Okay, that'll do. So, let's slide it forward again, just double check them all. Yeah, that looks alright. Looks okay. Down there looks okay. So, this back one is probably the ugliest of them all, but I can just get it there, look at it. Yeah, it's not too bad. Okay, that's the mod done, I suppose, and next thing really is just to put it back together and see what happens. Power it up and try and do a print with it. Now another little thing I've noticed with my printer here is that on the axis here, this belt tends to rub on the end of that beam, right, which is obviously going to wear the belt out. Okay, so it wants to sit above it, but it's rubbing on it. So if I put it inside, that kind of works. When it's at that end, when it comes up here, it actually pops back out. There, it's popped out then. So it's actually kind of sitting there rubbing on it all the time, which is going to be no good. So I'm actually thinking this stepper isn't actually aligned properly. I think it needs to be shifted a little bit. Now maybe it's binding in that rail a little bit sometimes, maybe it's sort of jammed, because actually it's the same width as that gap. It's actually going to bind on there, so it's stuck there now. Right? It's actually jammed. Just there. So maybe little things like that are problems. Really, I think this pulley needs to be a fraction bigger, really. Even if I align it a little bit better, so it's trying to not pop out of that gap, but sit in the middle of it, it's going to wedge in that gap. It's still going to be a problem. So I think I actually need to tip it very slightly, and this is from the factory. So the alignment there is not perfect. This will fit. That'll do the job, should be. It's not the right bit, but it fits. It's going to be okay, probably. Now I just need to find my screwdriver here, and we'll just tip it over a little bit and see if that will resolve the problem. Is it keyed? Don't know. It's got two cap screws there at least, so let's just try tipping it a little bit. Then I'm going to have to also keep the tension up as well. Is that? There's screwed holes as well, so then they're not the best. It's got a lot of play in there, but then it's going to take the belt tension off, which I obviously don't want either. So that means I'm going to have to retension the belt. But even that is not sitting centered right. It's, I don't know. Is that better or not? I think it is, but the belt tension's not right now. So if let's rub it on the bottom instead now. So I'm going to have to readjust the belt as well now. It's still rubbing. So it rubs on the bottom, it rubs on the top. Not impressed. Well, this is a bit of a pain. The alignment is slightly off as well. The whole thing's slightly out of alignment because of the way the belt sits. It goes into like a locking slot where it hooks over. Yeah, I'm not liking that. Can I adjust this? Maybe I can push the pulley a little bit further onto the drive. Little things like this I shouldn't have to piss around with, you know. It should just be right from the factory. It should be correct. I think I'll take it off and then see if I can do something with that pulley. No, this is just, as it is, it's just, to me it's not bloody good. You know, it's just going to wear the belts out. You don't want that. Right, so I've tweaked this a little bit. I've managed to get the pulley a bit further down the shaft, not by much, maybe a millimetre or so. So at least now this belt can actually bottom right out properly and hopefully sit more centred on this pulley. I've adjusted the angles a little bit. It's still a bit slack, I haven't tightened it up yet, but it now sits more central in here. I've got it as high as I can, but I can't go too high, otherwise it starts rubbing on the bottom of the belt, on the bottom one instead, on the inner edge, which is also no good. Right, really this pulley is just too small. It needs to be a bigger pulley. Or a slightly smaller section in there, but as it is, you know, it is what it is. You can't do really anything about that. The other option is to actually machine down this slot, make that slot wider. You can probably get in there maybe with a nibbler tool, might even do it actually. Maybe again with a nibbler tool and just take a little slot, or even hacksaw might have to do with that, but just widen that slot so the belt doesn't rub. It's going to need something like that long term, I think, but it's still not plugged in, which means I'm not too worried about doing this with it. At least not at this speed. But you can see it's dropping in a bit easier. It's not snagging, but it's still not great. Right, you can actually see it rolling sideways on the pulley here. You see that? As it's getting pushed over. Then you see the gap there changing. But and if I put drag on it as it goes forward, because it's obviously still a bit slack, you can see how it goes there. But it's definitely rubbing on that belt. So at the moment there's not an easy fix for that. I was hoping I could just adjust the pulley up slightly so it sits slightly higher, but then it rubs on the inside. If I hold that to hold tension on, I've got about 1mm gap on the bottom belt. If I moved it up even a little bit, it didn't improve it much, and it didn't really offer much of improvement at all. So I can't really get much better than that. But yeah, it's a bit of a design flaw. That slot should be wider, or the belt should be narrower. Maybe, I don't know, something. But as it is, it's not the best. Alright, so we'll plug this back in, put it back together, and tighten this belt back up again, which is at the other end, and go from there. Well, there you go, it's printing, so it hasn't broken anything, it's still working, so at least that doesn't seem to be a disaster or anything like that. So what I'm currently printing on here is the fan shroud and a new end stop, because the original end stop, there's a bit of a mistake on those. I don't know why it is, but they're just in the wrong place. So when the end stops, the nozzle's off the edge of the bed, and if you're trying to print a large object, it actually prints it off the bed and it ends up just sagging, and it's just not good. Right? So I don't know what the story is there, but you can actually offset, I think, in G-code and stuff like that with the slicer software. But I'm just going to make a new end stop. They're available, it's like an adjustable one here. So you can set that so the nozzle's within the bed size, and then it'll be alright. And obviously the fan shroud is because, well, the fan can get all this crap dropping into it. So yeah, it works. So this is PLA I'm printing in. I haven't done much PLA printing, I've only done a couple of things, so I'm still sort of learning how good it is and the settings for it and that sort of stuff. So the last thing I printed was okay, wasn't wonderful, but it's okay, it came out alright. One thing I've noticed, it does seem a little bit noisier since doing that change. So I don't know, maybe that's related, but I think the printer is slightly noisier than it was before. I could be imagining it, I don't know. So if you do that modification, pay attention to how noisy it is. Maybe do a test print, and then so you do that before and after comparison as well, which is what I didn't do. And compare the noise level, see if you find it any noisier or not. It sounds different. It doesn't sound the same as it did before. I don't know. We'll see what the print quality ends up being like. I'm hoping it'll be better. I could leave this running for a while. How exciting is this? And she's done. Okay, and these are the pieces it made. So here's the replacement bracket. I notice I've got this issue where I tend to get a split in the borders there. It's like it's I need to maybe add an extra layer or so for the wall thickness to make it solid, because it's trying to do an infill. In case you're wondering, I use glue stick to stick things down onto the bed. Here's the fan shroud, which has got the support material there, which I've already broken out, and actually came out quite easily. I only actually had an issue with this edge here was a bit hard to get out. The rest of it just fell straight off, so it actually came off really nicely. And as I was prying off the bed, because the bed's still warm, I just walked it slightly, but that's okay. Once I put a screw down, it will straighten it back up again. I'm not worried about that at all. But it's okay. I mean, surface finish as good as anything else I've done. I don't know. I don't really have a problem with it. Stringing's good, that sort of stuff. So alignment, that looks around here, looks absolutely perfect. Those look all perfectly in line. So it hasn't lost any steps in movements on the X and Y. Those all seem fine. Z-axis looks like the steps are even as well, so it looks like it's not caused any problems. I think actually that is more accurate than I've had before. So I'd actually say that that's actually fixed the problems I was having. But I was getting the odd misstep and little misalignments and stuff like that. So if you get that, see how even that is, you can see the reflection. Alright, see how even that is all the way around. There you go. Alright, so I think it looks good. One thing I always have issues with is trying to do writing on stuff. It never comes out quite nice. And the top surface here has got some defects just here. Maybe I was probably over extruding a little bit or something, I think. Looks like it's over extruding very slightly. But I haven't tuned in those PLA settings yet, but that looks reasonable to me. I think it looks fine. You know, you could obviously polish it up and make it look nice if you wanted to, but for me that's fine. The main thing I wanted was this, so I could adjust the end-stop and get that a bit more accurate than it always is. So, right, so I hope you found it interesting. Thanks for watching. Put comments and stuff down below and subscribe and all that sort of stuff. And click the bell icon. I will do more 3D printing stuff as the times are available and as I'm doing those kinds of projects. I don't do a lot of 3D printing stuff, I'm still learning it myself. But as I do electronics, it's a nice little sideline to do those little tweaks and little improvements to the thing to make it perform slightly better than it does from the factory. I hope you find it interesting. Make sure you share the video to people which also might want to see how to do that modification if they're capable of doing that kind of work. It's very fine parts, alright? Very fine. Those parts are tiny. Unless you are used to soldering and used to soldering small parts, I wouldn't say to do it, you know. If you know someone does electronics and they can do surface mount work, then get them to do it. But if you have never done it before, I wouldn't recommend it. You could easily cause some damage or damage the circuit board and then ruin it and that sort of stuff. Thanks for watching. Catch you later.